Thanks for joining. We're just going to give it another minute or so. Just got some more people trickling in here, so just bear with us for 1 minute and we'll be back shortly. Alrighty, good day everyone. Thanks for joining us. My name is Tony. I'm the Sales and Partnerships Manager here at GovReports. I want to thank you for taking the time out of your day to learn a bit more about what we do, hopefully improve some of your skills along the way. On the call today, we do have Tiana, who many of you may have met. We've also got Sandeep, who's our technical expert. But more importantly, we've got Ali Cochran. She will be doing the bulk of the presentation here. I'm sure a lot of you have met Ali, but if you haven't, she's got quite a rap sheet. I'm just going to read out a few things here. She's a fellow of IPA Australia, a fellow of CPA Australia. She's a member in practice at ICB. She's part of the Intuit Trainer Writer Network. She's an NYB certified consultant. She's a Zero Payroll certified partner. The list goes on and on and on. So she will be our expert driving the demonstration today. Now, this is the 4th webinar in a series of webinars so far in 2026. So we've had a couple last week, one on Tuesday, and obviously today. And the title of today's webinar, of course, is Managing Your Workflow with GovReports. So Ali's going to take us through and show us how to manage that workflow. But before she does that, just a little bit of history on GovReports. I know many of you will have heard of us already, but in case you're standing there thinking, who are these guys and what do they do? Back in 2010, we built the first cloud-based tax lodgement solution in Australia, and we continue to build out additional features and integrations on a monthly basis. As of today in 2026, we have more than 4,000 customers around Australia. That includes, of course, tax agents, BAS agents, and also direct businesses, big and small. So quite a big spread there. In terms of housekeeping, we won't be able to hear you today, but we do encourage questions. So we don't want this to be just a monologue. Otherwise, we could just record the webinar at our own time and send it to you. So we want it to be interactive. So if you do have any questions pop into your head or you're not sure of anything, there's no silly questions. So just pop them into the questions box, which on the new version of GoToWebinar, the top right-hand side, a little box with a question mark in it. Feel free to type your questions away there. We will endeavour to cover them as we go along. If we don't have a chance as we go along, we'll make some time at the end. We'll stop at the end to cover those questions. If we can't get to all those questions at the end, we're happy to take it offline and talk to you individually. I think that's it from me. I'm going to hand over to Ali now, and she's going to show you the workflow on GovReports, and I'll be back a bit later on. Thanks, Ali.
Okay, thanks very much. All right, welcome everybody. We're going to look today at managing your workflow with GovReports. Yes, I've got a long list of things that I've done. I used to be part of the Intuit Trainer Writer Network, left that last year, but I have been using GovReports since 2013. That's when I started using GovReports, and I love the product. There are some parts of it that I've outgrown, but I still have it because there are features there that I just can't capture anywhere else. So I'm going to highlight some of that and how tracking and managing the workflow in GovReports is quite easy. What I propose to do today is actually to go through the PowerPoint first and then go and dive into the actual GovReports itself in our test environment, which doesn't have a lot of data in it because it's just a test one for me. And that's what I propose to do. Tiana, Tony, if you want to stop me anywhere where there's a question that you might think is relevant, because of my two screens, I can't see the questions at the moment. So just
all good,
to let
Ali.
you know. So what we're going to look at today is tracking and managing your workflow in GovReports, and we're going to look at the settings where you can set everything up so that's going to help you streamline things. We're going to look at the activity statements, the new look, the autofill and things like that. We're going to look at the area of My Lodgements, where there are a lot of features in there that you can use that are going to help you. And the ATO reports, really useful area there where you can access client communications, activity statement summaries, which I love that one. That's my favorite. The BAS payment options, which for a long time I didn't even know existed, but it does. And outstanding reports, another favorite feature because you can see everything. And one of the newer features that they've come on is the payment plans. So I'm going to look at it in this way, where we're going to look at the settings. We're going to move then from when you bring your client in as a lead and how, what the process is in the workflow, then how you actually get into your practice management, and then we'd look at how you might be reporting. All right, so taking a look at the settings, one of the things I want to highlight to you at the very top of the screen here, you have your settings. Now, the settings here, we're going to have a look in a minute at the lodgement settings, but you also have a little area further down, just below, which is covered by my top section. It's got a little widget there. You can customize what you actually want to have on your dashboard to help you with your workflow. So let's take a look by jumping in. We're going to go into the settings and the lodgement settings. So one of the things in the lodgement settings that you can do is, it's very powerful here, where you can actually set up how you want your declaration statements to be phrased. Do you want them phrased as the individual person who's either preparing, or the administrator, or client partner, or do you want it in the business name? Do you want to hide the tax file number in the reports? Do you want to make sure that I like having the enable autosave on it, because there's nothing worse than losing things as you're doing things. And then on the right hand side, you'll see also the actual lodgement receipt settings. So in there you can get a receipt for both successes and failures when lodgements are done to the ATO. And you can choose those options. So this area you can customize to suit your best business needs. For me, in my practice, I have mine set on an individual, and I have it with account administrator, or in my case, I'm the principal. The report preparer can put their name in when they do it, but when it comes to lodging, it actually goes out with my name on it because I'm the one who reviews it. So there's some of the things you can do in the report settings that will then help set you up for streamlining that process in your workflow. The next thing I want to look at is the outstanding reports area. Now, the outstanding reports is a fantastic feature because it draws from the ATO portal, and you will have a list of all those outstanding reports that you need to know and be on top of. You won't miss them if you've activated this area for them. Now, you can set it up so that you sync it manually. So when you log into your GovReports, you have to update it to draw in those outstanding reports. But personally, I set mine up to automate so that I don't miss anything. Now, the only time you might miss it is, accidentally get disconnected or something like that from the ATO portal. You lose your connection. That might happen. You might miss it there, but this is a great feature. Now, when we do that outstanding report setting, we can, in some areas, set it up in bulk as opposed to having to go through each individual client. So I'll take you through that when we go through the GovReports. The next area to help with your processes and the workflow is your digital authentication settings. So in there, that little cube next to the setting box will allow you, this one here, will allow you to then go and choose the preference settings for your digital authentication. So in here, once again, you have details around, are you sending it out with the practice name, with the partner name, with the sender details? What sort of notification emails? Do you want a confirmation email after they successfully signed? Do you want it, only when it's completed? How do you want it to happen? So all of these things can be set up. The other thing that I would also suggest very highly is to set the default reminder so that if they don't sign it in the first day, the second day, you could have it set up for every 3 days. Has to remind them to sign it. So they're getting automatically reminded. You're not having to remember to remind them to sign something. Let's move now into our practice settings. So that's a little bit about some of the generic sort of settings to help streamline the processes and your workflow. So I'm going to look now at our practice settings. Now, before I do that, I just want to go back one slide or a couple of slides. No, that's right. I just want to make sure I had some notes and I couldn't remember whether I had it on there. All right. So in our practice settings, if we get this set up in the very beginning, it just makes the workflow so much easier for us. So the calendar settings allows you to configure your GovReports account with either Google Calendar or Outlook. The document settings. This is a feature that I absolutely adore because it means that if I save a document in GovReports and I've linked it with my Dropbox account, I know that it is securely stored on my Dropbox, and I also have my Dropbox being backed up. So that's already a big bonus for me. Then you have your billing settings and your invoicing settings. So you can set up for your billing and hourly payment rates and customize the invoice that you want to send to your customers if you are going to invoice through GovReports. Not everyone invoices through GovReports. Some do, some don't. So, but you have that option and that ability there. The job status settings, this is what works in tandem with the Office Practice Manager. And in this settings, you can set up the different statuses that you want to have for tracking the way your workflow happens. In the notification settings, you can turn things on, as you can see in the screenshot, whether when the job's created, you can have it turned on to notify you, because you may not be the only person using the practice management tool or creating these jobs. So, if you're the principal, you might want to know when these things are happening and to see when things are changing, and, to make sure that you're also getting a view. You may not want to get all of that either, because you may not necessarily want to be bombarded with absolutely everything. So you have this ability in your notification settings to customize that to how you actually want it for your practice. So for me, personally, if someone else is going to create a job, I'd like to know, is it something new? Because we have set procedures in our practice. Are they going to be using the right checklists, etc.? So I want to know when something's been created so I can have a quick review. I also want to know when the status has changed. It's a hard call, that one, because I don't want to know about every status change. I want to know when something's been completed as opposed to when it's just waiting for information. But once again, you can choose as little or as much as you like. It's like a buffet. The new client services can be used in conjunction with creating proposals and engagements letter, and that's going to be covered more in the webinar next week on managing you're onboarding your clients from start to finish. And the templates and letters is where you can create proposals, engagement letters, newsletters, ethical letters, lots and lots of different things that you can create in there, not just limited to creating proposals and engagements. And finally, within there, we have tags. Now, tags allows you to associate specific things with the individual clients, or you could also do it in bulk, but it's on a client level. So if you want to do then a filter on all the clients who've got a tag because they have monthly IASs, then you could do that. Using those tags, you might want to generate a template or a letter, but you may only want to send it out to people with a specific tag. So these are things that you can do in the practice settings that's going to set you up for managing that workflow, that you don't have to constantly go back and forwards. So let's talk a little bit about tags here. So when you go into the practice settings area, which, just going back a screen, is up. Oh, it's in the settings, and you choose the one that says practice settings. You can go into the tags area where you can actually manage the tags. And you can see there a couple of examples where, I might have consulting clients. I might have quarterly BAS clients. I might have monthly ones. I might have clients I do SCP finalization. I might have TPAR clients. I might have clients that I do management accounting for. I might have clients I do payroll for. I can create all these different tags, and I can attach them to the clients in bulk in this area, or if I'm creating a new client, I can add the tag as I'm creating a new client. When we go to our main screen, you can see up the very top also, you can manage the tags along that in the My Clients area. You can manage the tags as well using the Manage Tags there. So you can access the tags and manage your tags in a couple of places. On top of that, you can also, in the dashboard, you can search by tags. So you can either click on the tags in your My Clients area, and it will come up with a little box here that says search tag. Or if you click on the search bar at the very top of your screen, it'll come up with a whole series of things you can search by, and down the very bottom you could select your tag. So you can see that you've got a lot of powerful ways of being able to search for things. So if you're looking for things in, you're doing your workflow and you want to go back and look at something, you can search a lot of ways. So now that we've looked at the settings, let's look at a little bit about, you've got a new client coming on, when you might set up a new client. And I'm not going to go into it as much as I'd like to today, because we're going to cover it a little bit more in the webinar next week when we're onboarding. So my apologies, this screen is a little bit busy, but I wanted to fit everything so I didn't have to break up the page too much. So when we add a client, we have the option to import the information from the ATO portal, of course, provided we have access. And we have a couple of areas that I want to draw to your attention. When you bring your client in, you can choose to leave them in a lead status or an active status. So a lead status might be one that you're bringing this client in. You may or may not import it from the ATO yet, because you might be doing a proposal. So you may not have that access yet. And you might want to have them as a lead for the moment. But if they're ones that you've got a new client and you've done the engagement and everything like that, and you're importing the information from the ATO, they're now going to be active. And you can see down the bottom here that you can pull the ATO outstanding reports as you create new clients. There's also a way of doing it in bulk, but you can also do it at the same time as setting your new client up. When you actually go in and set up your new client, you've got your overflow buttons up here, your 3-tier thing. So you can see here that you can manage the users who are going to actually have access to that client. So you can restrict it. You can create jobs, modify their client status. You can set up tags for them. You can send a document, which will take you to the digital authentication section. There's lots of things that you can do in that section there. But I also want to draw to your attention the set passcode up here, and I've highlighted a little bit more at the bottom. So if there are particular clients that you don't want anyone else to have access to, it may be that you're doing your own practices BAS through there, and you don't want all your your staff members seeing everything of yours. You can set a passcode, so only those people who have the passcode will have access to it. So combined between the passcode and the managed users, you have ways of restricting who has access to information. Now, went too far. We also have in that screen, if I just go back to this screen for a minute, at the very top here in our client screen, you'll see a section called ATO accounts, ATO communication. Well, looking at when you click on the ATO accounts, you'll find in there that you have access to forms. So the client forms can be downloaded if you haven't added them to the outstanding as yet. You can drop down and look at the ATO services. But when you do the ATO accounts, the first thing it'll ask you to do is if you want to sync. So it's going to bring in things like your integrated client account, your super guarantee employer, etc. So you can see all this sort of information here at a glance. So you can get an up-to-date access to the integrated client account without having to log into the ATO portal. Now that, from a workflow perspective for me, if I can stay in one thing all day without having to jump in and out 100 times, that is a bonus for me, because having to jump in and out of the ATO portal is probably one of the most disruptive things for me. I have to do it very rarely. Very rarely do I ever have to do it, because I have access through here to get the most of the things I want. Now, the integrated client account can also be exported to PDF or Excel, which makes it really easy then for you to be able to do any reconciliations to get the client's balance sheet looking the way it should look. You can also see the payment reference number. So if a client rings you up and says, I can't find the reference number, you can look very quickly on there and find the reference number for them and send it off to them. But what's even better, and one of the newer things, is you can view and create payment plans. I think personally that is a big, big bonus. If I don't have to go into the portal to do that, I'm happy. So moving into that, clicking on that view, you can create a payment plan, and you can see that the screen is very similar to what you would see on the ATO portal. You've got what are you paying, the method, how frequently, when is the upfront payment going to be made, how much will be made, and then calculate the rest for you. All of that without having to go to the ATO portal. That is a big bonus for me in my workflow. Absolute gem, that one. And also that ATO communications, when we were in the client at the top there, in here you can see any ATO communications that have happened with that client. Now this one we're looking in the client screen at the moment, so that's at a client level. Later on, I'll show you where you can look at all the ATO communications for all your clients. So you've got a new client, or you have a potential client. You can manage the workflow by being able to create your proposal or engagement letter. So from within the client area, we go to in the letters area, in the practice settings, you can go to letters and templates. You can access it two ways. You could create ethical letters when they're approached to take over clients from another bookkeeper or accountant. You can create newsletters. You can send ATO information updates, for example, Payday Super, that's been a popular one lately. So you could do a filter using your tags to find all your payroll clients and send out an update to them through the letters of something you're telling them about Payday Super. So all of this helps, this is all part of your workflow. You're going from client to engagement, and then you're going to start working on your practice management. So if you're not already using a practice management tool, Office Practice Manager is there and it's free with your subscription. Now, you may have a practice management system that is not this one, and that's fine. There's nothing wrong with that. But there are other features that are in GovReports that make sense for me to keep my GovReports subscription, because I unfortunately have outgrown Office Practice Manager at the moment, and so I moved to another one. But there are features within GovReports that, like doing that payment plan and things like that, I can't get that anywhere else in any other thing, and it's part of my subscription, so I take advantage of that fully. So with the Office Practice Manager, we're going to cover this in a lot more detail in the next onboarding clients from start to finish next week. But basically, you have the ability to assign tasks to staff, delegate work, set up checklists, organize your workflow how you want it to be. And that will allow you to have a consistent approach to all the client work. There's always going to be little tweaks that happen, but for the most part, that will give you a consistency. Now, when you do set it up, a couple of things to bear in mind. Make sure you've uploaded your logo, and this goes for general things to do with GovReports in general. Making sure that all your employees who need to access GovReports have the relevant license. You can buy additional licenses. Making sure the employees have access to the necessary clients they need to have access to through the managed users area. If you're using it for billing and invoicing, making sure your billing and invoicing settings have been done. So in the My Subscription area is where you would go to actually add any additional licenses. Authorized users here gives you your active users. You'll see them there once you've got additional licenses and everything. I've got it blotted out because that was a screenshot from my one. And then you can manage the users as to whether they prepare, they lodge, whether they only prepare, whether they do preparation and lodgement. So you can give them that sort of level depending on, have a manager who oversees things depending on how big your practice is, whether it's a bookkeeping or accounting firm. Setting up your hourly rate. Is it tax inclusive, not tax inclusive? Setting up your invoicing. Do you give discounts? No, definitely not. Do you have terms and conditions? All those sorts of things that you would do to streamline things. So let's take a look now at the reporting area. So we've moved from the settings, we've gone through to the lead where we've got a customer coming on board. We've talked a little bit about the practice management. So this is the way the work is flowing. And then at the end of everything, after you've been doing everything, you want to get some sort of reports. Or you want to have access to reports that will help you when you're doing your processing and your workflow. So on the main screen, under the My Lodgements, you'll see there's several things, and we're going to look at a couple of these, and then we're going to go into GovReports in a minute to have a look at that. So when we look at the history, this will come up with a lodgement history of all our clients, and you'll see the status. If it's got a tax estimate, it'll say the signature status. You can search and filter by tags, by lodge date, by reporting period. And you can also export this history to CSV. So if you were to move away and you wanted to have a history of all the lodgements you've done, you can export that lodgement history to CSV, but I do believe there is a different kind of subscription if you ended up moving away, that you would have access to all the history stuff without having to export everything, if I'm not mistaken, Tiana. I think you said something about archive or something like that. So there are things in place there for as you grow. Moving down into the lodgements area at the saved reports. So in here, where you've got a report that has been prepared and it's been saved, but it hasn't gone out yet, or it is going out and it's waiting for someone to come back, you can see here the status of all those saved reports. And then you have another column there for a signature status. And this comes in handy where you have clients who, for some reason or other, do you ever have those clients who for some reason cannot get the electronics on their computer work? They can't get the code to work. And they said, can I just send you an email authorizing you to go ahead? Well, this is where this area comes in handy. Oh, excuse me. It comes in handy here because, pardon me, if you have someone who emails you authorization to say, I authorize you for this amount, blah, 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 to lodge it on my behalf, but they're not going to send it back to you electronically, so you're not keeping an electronic copy. In here, you can set up a signed status so that you can actually put that it's authorized by email or they did a signed paper copy. And you can actually, in the signed status, you can actually manage that and create your own statuses so that these ones can be tracked as well. You know, when they're signed electronically and they've gone through the digital authentication, it all sits in there nicely. But when they don't sign electronically, you have to have a way to also be able to track that. Now, if you can remember, we showed you the ATO communication when we were looking at the client view. On the main screen, we have the ATO reports area. And under that, we have the ATO client communication. In here, this shows you the practice-wide communications with your clients. On top of that, you have an action button on the right here where you can download it, you can forward it, email, you can see the things here. So if you wanted to go through each morning, you had a person who has to go through each morning and pick up any ones who are getting notifications of errors in tax returns, you could filter that so that you saw all of those ones and dealt with all of those ones. And, you know, all the ones where a penalty notice or whatever it might be. This is a practice-wide reporting. The next one is probably, oh, and the other thing I was going to say, just bear with me for a moment, I've got to remember what I was doing. That's the practice level. Oh, it's when you, there's another, in that, overflow area, the 3 bars, there's also, you can get more records and you can say exactly what you want to get, records you want to get from the ATO. My favorite, this one is my absolute favorite, especially when it comes to end of financial year, where I want to make sure that everything we've lodged, you know, no one has gone back. Like we know most software packages these days will allow to pick up any adjustments, whether you're using Xero, QuickBooks, MYOB, whatever you're using, Reckon, whatever. Most of those packages have something in place so that you can pick up the adjustments, but some do slip through. This way, you can run your activity statement summary report for a period. You can do it for a year, financial year, and you can see all the lodgements that the ATO has received, all the different categories, whether it's 1A, 1B, W1, W2, your 5A and all that sort of stuff, all in there. And then you can compare it to what you have in the software, what you reckon it should be for the whole year. And you can make pick up any necessary adjustments, because there are some times where something has slipped through and it hasn't been picked up. And it's only when you do a reconciliation at the end of the year to make sure everything looks right and the ATO integrated client account balance looks right, that you can actually utilize this really well to do that. This for me is a lifesaver. It makes a breeze of doing my GST and PAYG reconciliation at the end of the year before I even think about sending out STP summaries. That's finalizations. So that's the activity summary. We've also got the BAS historic lodgements. So once again, here you can see, you can put a date range in and you can see the status of lodgements that have happened. Another one of my favorites, the outstanding reports. So in here, if you were going to manually update your list, you would click on the update list. From the outstanding reports that appear here, you can have all your outstanding reports appearing. And from the actions overflow button here, from there, you can actually start to prepare or view or delete, whatever you want to do. And once you start to prepare, you can then, of course, import the data from the accounting software into GovReports to pre-fill the information for you, which stops keying errors. When you click on the little cube, colored cube, little Rubik's cube sort of look, you have digital authentication. That's from your main screen. And it's more than just sending your activity statements. You can use it for all documents that require signature. I used it when we had the COVID. I sent all the documents that we had to do for getting COVID payments and declarations, all of that, I sent through the digital authentication and got it back signed by the clients. So that, hold on a second, I've just got to stop people in the background here. So in here, you can just send everything. So I used it for doing those declarations for COVID. I use it when I am doing the Beam superannuation in QuickBooks Online. I get the authorization from my clients before I press the button to send them money to come out of their account. And the other feature, of course, is there's automated reminders. So when you set it up, you can actually have automated reminders come on so that you don't have to constantly remind your clients to sign things, and you can set it up, and it has expiry dates. But there was, I believe, a webinar that was run recently on digital authentication, so that recording should be available on the website. All right, I've talked enough, so I'm going to take you through and actually show you it in GovReports itself now that we've had a chance to do that. So bear with me while I switch over to
just while Ali flicks that over, I'll just jump in and see if there's any questions. There's nothing at the moment, but feel free to pop those questions in if you're unsure of anything, and then we'll just
all
give
right,
it
I'm
30
just about
seconds
to
or so.
share the screen again. Let me share the screen, and let me close that one down so I don't get confused. All right. I'm assuming you can see my GovReports screen.
Yep, all good, Ali.
Wonderful. Okay, so let's look at what we talked about today. So we talked about how we can, we're going to track and manage our workflow from the time that we are doing the settings, when we go into GovReports, to when we get a lead, to when we do practice management, to when we actually send out documents. That's our sort of workflow. And we have several steps in that. So in our settings, in here, I talked about in the lodgement settings. Oh, of course, it wants to look me back. Okay. In here, in my report settings, when it decides to come up for me, you can see in here about the declaration settings I was talking about. So in here, if you want to send it out rather than we declare that, as opposed to I declare that, or you want it only with, you want to have the report preparer's details or the administrator's details, etc. In here is where you can customize that and save your changes. You can hide the powered by GovReports in the PDF reports, or you can leave it there, whichever you like. And the lodgement receipts here, you can see here what you can send. And if you're going to send a lodgement receipt to the client, you can see the client configuration here. So you have the ability to drop in placeholders and customize that lodgement receipt itself. So getting this set up in the first place helps you dramatically. Then if we look at I'm going to go back to my main screen. And just to highlight at the top here, I talked about this is where the settings is up here. And this is the little widget here that allows you to customize what you want on your screens there. So I'm going to go here also into my settings again. And this time I'm going to go into my lodgement settings, but I'm going to look at my outstanding report settings. So when you bring a new client on, you can turn on the outstanding reports when you bring them on, but you can also sync your reports as frequently manually or daily, blah, blah, blah. And you can change that. So if I go submit that, that's wonderful. I've got it there. If I do it weekly, I could change it to weekly. So you can see that it will, you've got the flexibility there to do what you need. Just go home here for a moment. And I want to go here to outstanding reports. So when you turn that outstanding reports on, this is where everything appears. And in here, you can go client configuration and you can tick in bulk the ones you want to turn it on for. You update the list if you're doing it manually. Now I want to pop over using our little cube here to digital authentication to show you how in here you are able to track all your documents. You can see what status everything is at. So you can see how your work is flowing. Once once you're happy with it, it's been signed and you don't need to do anything more with it, you could then move it to the archive. You can see, you can filter, you can see all different things in here. You want to do a new document, you click new. But we're going to look at the preference settings that we want to set up for the documentation that goes out. So, emails will be sent using the practice details, partner details, sender details. Here's the notification emails, as little or as much as you want. Set the reminder. If they haven't signed it within 2 days, send a reminder. Repeat. Every so many days, however you want to do. The document itself has a life. So how long do you want it you can have it expiring in a certain amount of time. I leave the default for it. So then you just save your changes. So now I'm going to go and have a look at my practice settings. It's taking a moment. It's thinking. Just to confirm, you're seeing my practice settings on the screen, or are you still seeing the preference?
Sorry, I can see outstanding reports.
You're seeing? Are you seeing the setting that I had, the preference settings screen, or the?
It's still stuck on the outstanding reports.
Yeah.
All right, I'm gonna go to this one. I'm gonna go share this tab instead. Can you see my practice settings now? Thank you.
There you go.
Right, I found how to do that. Yes. So as I mentioned, the calendar settings, Google Calendar or Outlook, the document settings, you can configure it so it saves any documents that you attach in any jobs or any things that you have in there that are attached as documents can be saved to your Dropbox or Google Drive. Your billing and invoicing setting, the job status setting. So we'll look at that, as I said, a little bit more when we deal in the next webinar. But the notification setting here, this is around the jobs that work with your practice management. When do you want to be notified about when things happen? What sort of workflow do you want to have? Do you want to be inundated with notifications, or do you want to be selective? So in here, you can customize how much you want that. And then in our practice set, we also have the tags area. So in here, I mentioned that when you set up your client, you can, create tags. So in this tags area, this is where you can create new tags. You can, in here, you might say a payroll client. And then in here, you can bulk add it by selecting who you want to add it to. And they could have multiple tags. They're going to have a BAS. They might have a quarterly BAS, a monthly IAS. They might be a payroll, and they might need STP finalization. So you can have multiple tags per clients. So you can see there how that becomes really useful. So going back to that main screen, I want to show you on the bird's eye view here, or my client's view, sorry, how you can also access your tags here and search for them. Or you could go up into the search bar here, scroll down to the tags here, and search here. Going to the My Clients area, this is where we can create a new client. And when we create a new client, I mentioned how we can import from the ATO if we have that connectivity. It will populate the information. I leave, the auto, it's an auto, I use the auto client reference, and this is where you can pull the outstanding reports on straight away. You also see it here when you have a client, and I'm just going to go into a client who's existing. When you drop down the ATO services, you have a series of things, but you also in here have the manage the users and creating jobs. Once again, you have the tags here. And this is where you can restrict who has access. If you've got multiple people with licenses, you can restrict who has access. You can also, if the form hasn't imported, you can click on forms and pull the form from the ATO that way. And in here, you can set a passcode that is specifically needed to access this client. And you can also tick the box that it doesn't have to ask you because you've set it up, you know, whatever it may be. In the ATO accounts here, you click on synchronize and it will bring the information in here where you can see the transactions. You can view the PRN. This one won't because it's a test one. You can view any payment plans, or you could create a payment plan. So you can see it's very powerful, very useful, and all of this without even having to go out to the ATO website. In here, we have ATO communication, and this is at the client level. As opposed to in the ATO reports here, when you go to there, you are looking at the entire practice level of ATO reporting, which is taking a moment.
The test account can be a little slow from time to time.
Well, yeah, it is. And let's not forget, everyone's home from work now, so they're all getting on the internet. So you can see here, you have the ability to filter this so that you can choose what you want to see, etc. So you can search by subject, by whatever, by category. You know, if you want to look at, you know, demands, legal, you can do it there. All right. So the other area we have is the ability to, in our clients, where we can go into our clients and we can actually go and create our letters. Alternatively, we can go into the practice settings and go into the letters and templates to achieve the same thing. And as I said, it's not restricted just to engagement letters. You could have ethical letters, you could have a newsletter, you could have whatever it may be. The Office Practice Manager is in this area down here. And in here, you create jobs. And we'll talk about that more next week. But once again, as I mentioned before, just make sure that when you go into the Office Practice Manager that you've uploaded your logo and all your employees have got adequate license and access to the clients they need to have access to. For any of those settings, for getting those additional licenses, we go into My Subscription. And in here, you'll see the subscription details. And if you need any additional licenses, you can purchase down here. When I go back to my main screen, if it goes back to my main screen, if in doubt, use the backwards key. You also have authorized users here. So anyone who has a license, if you create an authorized user, you can then associate a license to them. And as I mentioned before, you can manage the user access within the client area. In our practice settings, we talked about the billing settings, making sure that you set that up from a workflow perspective because you want everything to flow through nicely. So once you've done the work, you can actually bill for it. You can set the billing up here. You can set up the invoicing settings as well. It just doesn't want to move quickly today. There we go. Invoice settings as well. And then when we go back home, we're going to have a look. Yeah, what was that? Sorry, you're going to say something, Tiana?
I think I saw questions relating to, it's from Chris. Chris has never used GovReports to bill clients. What are the advantages over using Xero billing?
For clients?
Yes. Xero or NYOB.
Are we talking about billing or are we talking about? in general about the clients?
Billing clients.
Okay, so think of GovReports as a sort of a CRM, because within the clients area, you have all the information about the client. So in here, you have all the information about the contacts and all the rest of it. On top of that, you can set appointments, reminders. You have file notes. You have all the history here of everything you've done with them. Now, it's more difficult to add that into the contacts area and find that easily in accounting software. Does that sort of answer the question?
Yep, she's good.
Good. All right. So let's move on to the My Lodgements area on the main screen and look at the history mentioned before. This shows the history of what's been lodged. And once again, you can export that out to see to a CSV file. You can search specifically here, filtering what you want to see. If you only want to see the lodged ones, and you'll notice this signed status, there's nothing there at the moment. But if I go to my saved reports have to have a valid status to be able to do to see the signed status come up here. And this is where we can do things where people have not signed electronically. They may have signed a paper copy. They may have authorized it by email. So once it's valid here, and say this person actually signs a paper copy, I can make a note that they signed a paper copy. So we've got a trail of the fact that they've actually authorized and done it before we actually lodge it. The ATO reporting, as I mentioned before, the client communications I mentioned, the BAS payment options. In here, you open this, you can see the different options available and communicate that. Just waiting for the screen to come back up. Come along. And come on screen. And let me just go back here again. Reporting. And in this show more area here, the different channels and the date range and everything like that, we're going to do all clients. So you can filter here as well. As I mentioned before, one of my favorite ones is the activity summary statement, statement summary, I should say. And you can choose your client, choose a year, generate the report, and that will bring up the lodgements that have occurred for that client for that particular period. And you can then reconcile that against what you've actually, what the ATO is saying is lodged and what you've actually lodged. This has got nothing much to do with
Testing account, so it won't show.
I found it for someone. Chelino, I found it for, I think.
Yes, Chelino, correct.
Yeah, so anyway, but
Ali, we have a questions from Amanda. Are the various templates saved in GovReports practice settings, or do we have to create our own?
What was that question again? Sorry, say it again.
Are there various templates saved in GovReports practice settings, or do we have to create our own?
There are templates in there.
Yeah, we do have system default templates amended for tax and VAT agents.
So you can see the ones here that have GovReports. They're the ones that have been set up by GovReports. You can also add your own. If my computer wants to respond to me today. It just does not want to respond to me today. So you can see, oh, there we go. So in here, you can create a template and create your own template. So if you're doing a newsletter, you could create your own newsletter. But there are several here, like a discontinuation, authority and appointment of a BAS agent, an ethical BAS agent letter. You know, create your own. You can create your own engagement letters. So there are some to do there. You could actually even, just a tip, rather than reinventing the wheel, if you've got, like I use the IPA engagement letter and have modified it a little bit for myself, copy the whole, create your own template, copy it from the template from IPA, CPA, whoever, pop it in, put the placeholders in where you want them, and create your engagement letter that way without having to reinvent the wheel.
There's a question from Heidi. Can you please show how to assign a client to a user and or to have them not seeing something? Can you go to authorized users? I saw your account earlier that you didn't have a user at the moment. Can you click plus new? Yep. And can you add myself onto it, or just simple? Yep. Select the role. We'll just choose the custom role, or we'll change it after. That's okay. That's okay. We change it after. Because assigning a client. So if in GovReports, you've got 5 roles. The principal is the system admin or the administrator or the account owner. Then you can have partner, you can have the preparer and the lodger. Both the preparer, lodger, and the partner will have access to all the clients that you have in the system. But the partner will have access to not only all the clients, but also can prepare and lodge, and you can also choose whether that person will sign the reports as well. But then the lodger, you can will have access to all the clients, as I mentioned, but also to be able to lodge for all the clients as well, for all forms. Then you have the preparer. They can prepare all the forms that you have that we have in the system, but they cannot lodge anything. Having said that, you've got the custom role, so we're going to change this person to a custom role, and then you see at the bottom, you see the forms, right? You can select which forms they can prepare, and then once you say activity statements, and then you go to the clients tab, the clients tab next to it, and then you can choose which clients you want to assign to that person, whether that person will be able to prepare. The staff member can prepare and or lodge for that client. You can also see the customized functions on the top as well. And similarly with the preparer and lodger and the partner, if you want to restrict them in terms of some functionality, you can go to their profile and also change and restrict the access as well. Okay, I hope that answer. And there was another questions. Okay, so if there's a questions from Janet, if document status is pending signature in digital authorization, can you change? The answer is yes, but there's a process. First, you need to go to the digital authentication applications and then avoid the email, the mail for signature. Because, and then of course the reason is because whatever that you have, maybe the clients have signed, given you authority through other means. It might be an email, as Ali mentioned earlier in her example. Just so you avoid it, and you said you already signed it on paper, or you already have given me authority to lodge through email, right? And that might be your reasons for the reasons to void the documents, and your client will get that notification as well. So then you go back to your save report, and that's the sign status will then be removed of pending for signature. Then you can manually add the update of the sign status. So the questions from Chris, I miss where you can add a different sign status. Is it easy to do? As you know, Ali can show that from the sign status there. So you can go in,
simply go manage, and add a status. It's as simple as that. So so now I can choose, yeah, whichever. It's very straightforward. Any other questions?
I think it's all good.
All right, and as I mentioned before, with the digital authentication, you don't have to just use it for sending out activity statements for signing. You could send out, in this one here, for example, I've gone through and I've uploaded we want to get a superannuation form sent to the employee, and we want it to come back securely, or a tax file number form. This way it can come back securely through the GovReports without, because it's encrypted and it doesn't, it's safe. So in here, there's just a few steps for where you go in and actually set it up. Oh, it's actually it was in the next one. It's in the next screen. It's in that next screen here. And in here, you can go through and say, signify that they need to add text into these fields here. They need to complete one of these. Down the bottom, they need to sign it, and the date needs to be put there. So, and then you can send that off, and they can do all of that, and it comes back for you. Does that make sense? Sorry, I forgot to show you the tab. So here it is here, where you've gone into the, in here you add the text to the fields that you need the text to be entered in by the person, and then you've got the signature and the date, and then you send it off to them. All right. So that brings me to the end of the presentation. I hope that has shown you how you can manage your workflow, from settings to getting a new customer to setting up your practice management and your digital authentication, and putting some of those settings in place to help streamline everything. Next week, we'll be doing onboarding a client from start to finish, where we'll go through Office Practice Manager and show you how you can create jobs, you can create tasks, which are like checklists. You can update statuses, you can see it all on your Google Calendar or Outlook, whichever you may choose. You may not use them at all, but and you can assign specific tasks to your staff, or and things like that. So yeah,
there's another request. Sorry,
yep.
Sorry, Ali. There's just another request. I thought rather than typing in, from Heidi, consider the ability to see account balances at practice level, or have the balance lodgement really blocks the process to have to go into each client. Heidi, we are just watch this space. Even though at the moment I can tell you to have the practice level where you can see all your clients' outstanding balance with the ATO, that's not likely to be possible, but we do have another solutions. We're working around it. So watch this space. Perhaps you will see that we will update with towards the end of financial year, where you will see, just like I said, the amount that your clients owing, and of course whether they have paid. That's only if you're logged through GovReports, because we can track that. But otherwise, through the ATO, unfortunately, what you want, if for the practice level, it just means that we have to auto synchronize with the ATO for each of the clients, and that is an issue that could cost performance, of the app. So like I said, we have a solutions around it. Just watch the space. We'll notify, or we'll give an update when that's closer to release, or it's being released. Hope that clarify. And
We just got one there from Michelle as well.
Yep. Did you add that super form via the PDF, or was it in GovReports already? It's a form. It's a PDF form that you can upload, and of course, then you just select the appropriate tab, or what do you call it, field, so that the clients can fill out. So text field, and the clients can fill out the form.
Perfect. Well, I think that's looks like it for the questions. All right, we're a little over time here, but just to wrap up, I just want to say a big thanks to Ali for doing the presentation. Seems like everyone got a lot out of it. Appreciate Tiana's support as well. We do have some more webinars coming up, so be sure to check out the upcoming ones on our website, govreports.com.au/webinar. The next one is on next Tuesday, and that one will be getting started with GovReports. So if that's you, if you're still fairly new to it, or you feel like you could just use a refresher, that'd be a good one to join as well. I think that's it from us. Any further questions you've got, feel free to reach out. We do have the support email there. You can get in contact with us. All our details are on the website. If you are not yet a customer of GovReports, you can trial most of our solutions from the website as well. So we do have free trials. So be sure to check that out. But again, thanks everyone. If you're happy to wrap up, Tiana, we'll close it off.
Well, good. Thanks everyone.
Perfect. Thanks everyone.
Thank you so much. Bye-bye.
See you soon. Bye.
Bye.